What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another reaction with your host, the Ignorant Eclectic Mad Genius, and today we are back on that boy Will's channel. And we are this I guess this one we're gonna be doing a reaction on basically I guess doctors are leaving left and right. That's all I know. I'm gonna stop talking. Hit that like, hit that sub, tell a friend, bro. And like usual, the link for this original video will be in the description down below. Yeah, on the road to 500 subs and then 1,000 right after that. Yeah, let's do this.
America, a lot of doctors are quitting their jobs, man. And doctors make good money, maybe not as much as they're supposed to
I
make with
mean,
all of the
yeah.
training that they went through and all of the education they have to endure. But with that being said, a lot of them are having to quit. They're walking away. They're tired of dealing with these insurance companies. They're tired of the people in HR riding on them, the malpractice insurance. There's a lot that go into being a doctor. So we're going to get straight to this video. But first, like it before you light it. Hit the sub before you hit the bud. Join the team before you hit the green. And most importantly, y'all know I need that. It's Monday. I know y'all got a fresh pack. Don't be selfish. Sharing is caring.
So I'm a primary care physician and I think about burnout all the time. I'm always cautious to complain about my career as a doctor because I know it's something a lot of people aspire to. And in a lot of ways, it is really great. But we can't solve a problem unless we can speak the truth. And the problem, the reality is a lot of my friends are struggling. And I struggle sometimes too. I worked with a doctor who I liked, who was burned out, and he was just getting through his days as fast as he could. And his complicated patients bounced off of him and went to someone else because they knew they weren't getting the kind of care they needed. And a lot of people talked a lot of shit about that guy, but I saw him dragging into clinic every day, doing the best he could to show up for people in a system that had just eaten him alive. One day he woke up and he could not get out of bed, just couldn't go into the clinic. And he spent the next month in bed, could not get out, could not go to work. And they were so desperate for doctors at this company I was working at that they're like, that's fine. You just get better. And as soon as you're better, we need you back here in the grind. And he wanted to get back into it. He's like, okay, I'm going to heal. I'm going to become a doctor again. I'm going to get back into this. I'm going to help people like I dreamed about doing when I started this. And every meeting he had with administration to come up with some sort of system where he could go back and at least see some patients, a light schedule, who knows what, something so he could get back into it. He could not imagine himself doing it. He could not bring himself to do one more patient encounter. This guy worked so hard to become a doctor, and then he worked so hard to be a doctor, and he could not bring himself to see one more patient. And if he had not burned out, he probably had another 25 years of a career in front of him.
Damn.
But here's the really messed up part with all of this. Think about how a burnt out doctor operates. Do they spend a lot of time asking additional questions to patients to try to figure stuff out? No, they're in and out of those rooms so fast. Do they order the additional lab tests to make sure that they're not missing anything? Absolutely not. They want their inbox as small as possible. These doctors are flying through their days. They are seeing patients, getting their notes done, ordering minimal tests, doing the least amount of workup they can, just so that they can be home and be done with this. Do you realize how great that is for the healthcare systems that employ doctors? They have a doctor that's just running on time, flying through patients, and I've seen this. I've seen the burnt out doctors and the patient volumes that administration can put on them because they just want to get in and out. They don't want to talk to anybody. They're not going to push back. They're just going to do as little as they can in each one of those patient visits. And you know what? As a healthcare system, the amount of money you charge for a patient visit when you diagnose them with anxiety or when you do a workup for dysautonomia is about the same. And do you realize how good that is for the insurance companies? These burnt out doctors are not spending insurance company money on extra labs and imaging and referrals.
True.
They're slapping on quick, easy diagnoses and getting into that next room as fast as possible so that they can get home and get done with their day. And then you realize that a burnt out doctor can be very profitable for a healthcare system. And you realize that a burnt out doctor can also be very profitable for an insurance provider. And you understand, or we have a system that's perfectly designed to get the results that it's currently getting. And you realize the healthcare systems and health insurance companies may not be very motivated to solve this physician burnout crisis.
I want to talk about doctors.
Hey, the interesting thing about it though is, all right, it's profitable for the hospital, it's profitable for the insurance company, but it's detrimental to your health because they skipping steps, right? They're not being thorough. What he could catch or she could catch, they're not catching because they're not ordering the extra tests, the extra labs. They're not going the extra mile, the bedside manner to get you to open up and talk. Because a lot of people, tell me what bring you in today. A lot of people don't tell the truth to the doctor. They be
Hey, boy, listen, that is 100% factual. Cause it be times where I'm just like, all right, how truthful am I gonna be? And literally, I've had to learn to become way more truthful, especially with at least the last doctor that I had or whatever. I mean, I was super truthful. I was just like, yo, this is going on, that's going on, this is going on. Yeah, like what I gotta do, doc.
lying, and the doctors have to probe in order to get it. It's kind of like with the dancing song that you got to do with the police, the criminal and the police. The police is trying to get information out of them. The criminal is not trying to let the information be extracted. It's kind of like that with patients for whatever reason. They don't want to tell the doctor that like they got symptoms because they're scared and all of that kind of stuff. And the doctor who's burnt out, he's not going to probe. He's not going to inquire, bro. That's crazy work right there. So a burnt out doctor is actually bad for you, and it's probably a breeding ground for malpractice.
I practiced medicine for 50 years,
You look
and
like
I'm a
it, baby.
bioethicist.
No offense.
In my opinion, the hospitals believe that they can replace us with nurse practitioners and PAs, but they will leave eventually because the problem is the same. Many people who are leaving say they always wanted to be a doctor. I believe they always wanted to take care of patients, and now they find themselves taking care of the hospital, the insurance companies, even the lawyers. Insurance companies make us do things against our license. And we have stupid rules like one problem per visit. People don't come that way. Nobody has even just one problem. And even the first thing they say is often the real problem. You might have to ask a little bit to find out the real problem. I believe the medical industry has lost its soul and is losing its heart. Doctors are the face of this broken industry, and we may take the brunt of the anger and blame. And for nurses, it's the same but different. Hospitals treat patients like things, and now they're treating staff like things. We're furniture to be moved around and replaced when we wear out. My physician colleague was told by a hospital administrator, I don't need you, I need your license. When staff do treat patients like humans, they're going against the current, swimming upstream. Some can do it forever, but many can't. I couldn't. There comes a day when you can't do it anymore. This has been called burnout, but I don't really like that term. It's not really wrong, but it's not right either. It implies that we're weak, we don't measure up. It's a mental health issue. You're sick. I believe that institutions only believe that if they just hired asbestos people, there wouldn't be a problem. So I believe there are many reasons why doctors leave. One of them is moral injury. When you have to watch things being done that go against your moral beliefs, or you are required to do such things yourself, such as patients not getting care, denied by insurance, even a child dying after being denied care, people who can't afford copays and deductibles, and having to prescribe a cheaper medication because a patient can't afford a more expensive one that would work better. We may feel we're a square peg in a round hole, a human peg in a cold, uncaring world, or a human peg in an inhuman system. We may have to go face to face with a person who is not getting care and who has done their research and knows what is available that they're being denied.
She's telling the truth because like the insurance and everything else that I'll be honest with you. So my mentor, well one of my mentors or whatever, I had a conversation with him maybe like it's been a minute. Like the conversation I'm talking about, it was about like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that, when he retired from where he worked at or where I worked at or whatever, or where I work at. He was telling me how much basically it was going to charge, or like if he was to not keep the insurance that he has at our job or whatever, how much they were going to charge him for. I think he has insulin and a few other things or whatever. And he was just like, yo, if I don't keep the insurance that I have here, it's gonna cost me blah 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 blah. I said, ain't no fucking way. I was like, bro, how much do you pay a month now? Just to keep the insurance? I think it was like $850 a month for just to keep that insurance, to keep that health insurance. I said, mother, It's wild, bro. It's crazy.
I believe we need to have a conversation around these issues, and I hope you'll join in that conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, I can see how it'll take a mental toll on somebody, bro. You became a doctor to help people like many people did. Some people became doctors because
for
that was
money.
the next thing to do. They came from a daddy who was a doctor, who his daddy was a doctor, so his legacy is just like the family tradition. But some people grew up, they were
Wanted
5
to
years
help.
old and they knew that they wanted to be a doctor and they actually went through it and became one. And those are the people that's being pushed through the
Weeded
system
out.
like this, not being able to really help nobody. They don't feel like they're making a difference no more. And that'll cause them to burn out and quit. Real talk, sucking the damn life out of the doctors.
Yeah,
And boy, a
unfortunately.
doctor that don't give a damn, that ain't shit, bro. I promise you, you don't want to come across no doctor like that. Mess around and kill you.
Talk about. And I want to say that
Boy,
it is
put
not
you on all
one
kind of
reason
medicine
why
that you don't need to be
physicians
on.
are leaving medicine, but it's likely a combination of a multitude of issues. So the first thing I would say is that a lot of people do not count the cost. So before going to medicine, you have to think about the debt that you'll go into, the delayed gratification, the delayed income, the amount of hours of work, missed family events, missed big life events that you'll have to go through to become a physician. Number two is what they pictured being a doctor to be like once they're in attending was not the reality. And that could be a really hard pill to swallow because this dream job that you thought you were going to have ends up being something completely different. Number three would be oftentimes people who go into medicine unfortunately do not match into the specialty that they want to go into. And it could be very challenging to get into that specialty.
Yep.
So then they're actually not working the dream job that they wanted to in the first place. Number four, people change over time. I am not the same person that I was in medical school. And sometimes people's joys, passions, and desires change over time. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so maybe after 15 years of training, they decide that their joys and passion, what brings them happiness, lies somewhere else rather than being a physician. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. 6, parts of medicine can have a very toxic culture, and in some places, residency and fellowship can be extremely, extremely hard, toxic, and not good for livelihood of medicine. When you are working over 80
Well, he said fellowship and everything else. I'll be honest with you. The doctors and the nurses be getting it in. So they be fellowshipping a lot.
hours a week, not getting paid very much, not being treated well,
it
it's
might be
hard to
toxic,
see
but-
medicine as an incredible career, even if it is so. So some people survive residency, but then when they get out, they have such a bad taste in their mouth from medicine that even the good parts of medicine do not seem that good. The reason would be people going into medicine for the wrong reasons, whether that be social pressure, pressure from their peers and their parents, or they just want the status of being a physician. And unfortunately, achieving being a doctor for those reasons will never fulfill. I'd say another part of it would be the changing of tides of what a physician means and how well respected we are in the general society. Unfortunately, in today's world, I would say that doctors are not very well respected as a whole in society. And I know that there's a lot of complex things that go behind that, but it can be very challenging to work so hard throughout your career to then finally become a doctor and you see society doesn't really believe what you have to say anyway. Or they would believe wellness influencers or the biggest social media stars over you on medical topics, which just doesn't really make sense.
Let's talk about why
Hey, bro, that shit is crazy though, man. Motherfuckers will be listening to a dude with a damn shirt off video talking about, hey, listen, bro, you take this sea moss, this bitch gonna kill any cancer in your body.
Yep.
Just take this one little spoonful of sea moss every day, and I guarantee you're not gonna have no cancer. You're not gonna have no HIV. If you got any STDs, it's gonna be gone. If you got high blood pressure, it's gone. You got diabetes, it's gone. You got gout. Sea moss is the answer to everything, bro. And make sure you drink some of that beet juice too, man. You do all that, bro, you'll never have to go to the hospital.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie to you. I love me some beet juice. That beet juice is good. At first, I ain't like that, but now, boy, listen, I got to get back on
Again,
but
bro.
hey, beet juice is good.
No, I ain't trying to shit on it. Yeah, the stuff got health benefits, but bro, listen, nigga, go see the doctor too. You know.
I left my job as a doctor of physical therapy after 3 years of being in the field.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
I am a doctor. Yes, I went to a lot of school, but here we are. Disclaimer before we start, I love physical therapists. I think they do a lot for the healthcare profession. However, the field just wasn't for me. And this is me talking from personal experience. Number one reason why I left, burnout. Nobody in the healthcare
can
field
understand
talks
that.
about burnout until they're working in the healthcare field. But when you're shadowing and doing all of that, they always talk about the positives. Nobody ever talks about burnout. Burnout is real in healthcare. For me, I just feel like I had no work-life balance. I would go to work probably like 30 minutes before to review my day. At lunch, you get an hour lunch, but you're always like doing notes, so you're not really on break. At the end of the day, you have to finish up all your notes, and sometimes that can take anywhere from 30 minutes up to an hour, hour and a half, depending on how many evals you had that day. So by the time you get home, it's time to go to bed, wake up, and do it all over again. Also in healthcare, you literally get no days off. I can typically count on
Really? I
one
didn't know that.
hand like how many holidays I would get off. And I can also count on one hand how many PTO days you get within your first year. No sick days. All in all, you're lucky if you get like 10 days off that are paid. That's obviously
Damn,
within
that sucks.
usually a first year of a company. Yes, it does build up. However, it's not as good as other professions. On top of that, taking days off is hard because you have a caseload. So you submit PTO, and that PTO can get denied a lot just because other people in the office are off, or for whatever reason, they can't cover your caseload. On a personal side, I also left because I just had severe anxiety every
can
Sunday
relate,
before
okay.
I would go into the work week. Side note, if you have a job and every Sunday you have extreme Sunday scaries, that's not the job for you. Find
What's that?
something else. Another reason, growth. Once you
Sunday
graduate and start
scaries?
working as a physical therapist, there's not a ton of promotions you can get. You're pretty much at the top. Next up is like a director role. However, I also worked a director role. It's a ton more work and you're not really compensated for that work. And lastly, let's address the elephant in the room. Doctors of physical therapy do not make doctor money. And if you make doctor money, you probably own your own business. The cost of school for physical therapy is so high, and the salary of a physical therapist is so low that they do not match out. It literally makes life unaffordable. Overall, bottom line is, like I said, it wasn't for me. That was my experience personally. I'm in a new job now. I've transitioned and I love my job. I hope this video helps people who might be thinking of going into physical therapy, because I know when I was thinking about it, all I saw was the good things. And if you look on Instagram or whatever, all you see is the positives, and no one really tells you the other side of it. You're not only gonna work with athletes.
So I just
The other side.
Hey, dog, listen, same thing. I be seeing it, and I tell you this all the time. Be careful what you're watching on Instagram. People only show you the trophies, the highlight reels. People don't show you the real
Facts.
for the most part. And when they do, they begging. They want some money or something out you. They want, they're trying to use your emotions to get you to go in your pockets.
Yep.
For the most part, bro, I'm gonna keep it real with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask my my physical therapist about some stuff, dealing with their job or whatever. Yeah, actually, I had to actually get. Well, I have to go through another. I think it's another 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something like that of physical therapy. Just for my leg and stuff like that. But yeah, I might have to ask him about some stuff. All right, yeah, because I think the last time that I did it or whatever, I got like I think it was a massage therapist or massage therapy, or whatever. Like I got cupped or whatever, and that was a whole experience of itself.
Yeah, that
experience of
burnout
itself.
stuff is 100% real. Imagine going to school for all that time, spending all that money for people to treat you like you ain't shit, treat you regular. And then these hospitals, like, bro, make it make sense. If it takes so long for someone to be trained to do this job, why you not treat me good? Because to replace me ain't that easy. You just can't go in and replace a physical therapist like that. I mean, you can, but you can't at the same time. What I mean by that is this. If a person at McDonald's get fired today, I can train a new person within 30 minutes to flip burgers and drop fries and bag up orders. I can't train nobody to be no physical therapist or no doctor or no dentist or no pharmacist or no eye doctor, a chiropractor, you name anything like that. That's years of training. So you're not easily replaceable. Therefore, you should be paid and compensated well. But hospitals and clinics, man, they don't even treat them people like that.
care PA that I used to see has now completely left medicine entirely due to burnout, and now she lives on a farm, raises her kids, and grows her own food and everything,
Sounds so much
which I
happier.
think is amazing. But also I'm hearing this more and more of providers trying to leave medicine in some way, or trying to cut back hours to work less. And it's just sad that it's come to this point where you got into something that you wanted to help people, and now the only way to help yourself is to leave it. But I was just curious, if you are feeling burnt out from medicine, what would you leave and go do instead?
The doctors who are quitting and stepping away from medicine are not lazy. Lazy people do not go through medical school and training. What is actually happening is these people are realizing that they are no longer willing to sacrifice their health and mental well-being for a broken system that couldn't care less about them, actual science,
She's
or healthcare.
100%
Who
correct.
said that?
Let's talk about how I walked away from my permanent hospitalist job. Hey, everybody. Hey. So I'm finally discussing
sister?
something that I haven't discussed, and I said to myself that I would. And it's been over a year, so I think I'm good. But let's talk about how I walked away from my permanent hospitalist job.
Talk to me.
By the way, this is going to be multiple parts because I don't want to put this all in one
I just
video.
need the important part, baby.
First, I'm not going to list where I used to work.
Smart.
Just, keeping it professional. 2, I'm not listing any specific names.
Smart.
Again, professional. I like being able to be gainfully employed, etc. But just kind of giving my spin on it. I gave it at least a year just because I wanted it to be like separated from me, so that whenever I did this video, it wasn't like me like upset and angry and like, rah and the stuff. Nah.
That's a logical decision to make, honestly. Fuck, because in the heat of the moment, boy, I'm liable to say some shit, bro. Just I don't want to talk right now. Give me a couple days, because if I say what I won't say today, it's gonna be bad for both us.
Listen, I done worked in many a jobs, like little side gigs also. And I'll be honest with you, the last job that I had, well, the last little side gig that I had, I got let go because of a whole little situation that honestly I didn't do anything wrong. Well, at least I believe I didn't do anything wrong. But certain people like me, a certain group of certain people loved me, and an individual did not like me, and the individual just happened to be the person that I was hired for or hired to help. So basically it was my boss. But yeah, that was a whole little situation in and of itself.
So I'm gonna just give it a couple of.
And he said some things, and I restrained from saying things because I was like, yo, I need this extra. Mind you, I was working on the weekends and stuff like that. So I would head down to the loo, and I would be there for a few hours, and then I would head back home. And I was making maybe a solid extra 300-400, something like that. Basically a weekend. So I was like, all right, cool. This easy money. It's something that I like to do. And yeah, I was doing what I was doing. Everything was good. The people was loving me. The coworkers loved me. And some things happened. Things were said. I rebutted with things that I probably shouldn't have said, but they were the truth. And I lost that side gig. You know what I mean? I lost the extra 4. It was like, oh well, shit. I think at the most I made like 600. But like yeah, extra $400 to $600 a week, a weekend.
Dave, that's smart on her part.
But just a quick little recap.
she took a year.
Graduated from residency in
Shout out.
2021. Got my first permanent job, which
Okay, then.
relocated me back to Atlanta, which is what I wanted because I was closer to family and friends.
Okay.
I did not realize that despite my love of serving underserved communities, that's my passion.
Type.
Okay.
Like that's a community that gets me going, even with all of the institutional and systemic issues that unfortunately are a lot of times dropped on that community. I still said, this is who I want to help. It being naive and out of residency, you try and do your best, and I still continue to try and do my best. It's not until you're in the thick of it as an attending, i.e. you've already graduated and you're kind of like practicing independently, that you realize a lot more of the foolishness that goes into hospital systems. My hospital, I do feel like the majority of, or my former hospital, I do feel like the majority of people that work there truly want to help their patients. I think the way it is managed and run is the problem. So, despite my efforts and like pushing myself, work just got harder and harder and harder and harder. And I can take a lot. I mean, if you've been through medical school, you've been through residency. Half of my residency was the pandemic, when nobody even knew what the pandemic was. I mean, you know, I've been through a nice chunk of stuff, but honestly, it got to a point where I seriously like hated. I was dreading.
Hey, imagine going through your residency at the time when the world is going through a health crisis. The amount of training you probably got compacted and condensed down in that short period of time is,
with not knowing if you were going to contract this disease, or if you're going to give this disease to one of your family members or something like that. I seen videos where nurses were going home to their significant others, and they were living in their basement while their spouse and their kids were upstairs, because they didn't want to pass off the disease to their spouse and their kids for, like, I think it was like 2 weeks or whatever. And like that was before the whole like that was like during the whole like I think, was it 5 feet or whatever separation or some shit like that from people. Yeah, bro, it was, those videos was crazy back in the day.
crazy, because I know that the hospital was hectic around that time. You got to deal with COVID, and you got to deal with all the other stuff that you would normally have to deal with. I know it was tough.
My work week, like I felt like I was drowning. I felt like I wasn't getting the help I was supposed to be getting. I was not the only one that felt this way. It felt like a lot of gaslighting and a lot of this, we're going to do all these things. And none of that stuff came to pass. Over the course of 3 years, it actually got harder and harder to work there. And I'm not going to lie, the back of my head was like, I kept hearing this voice. I was just like, leave.
Auditory hallucinations.
Leave. And
don't become a doctor. It is not worth your time. You could spend your time doing so much more. I did it, and I'm about to tell you why I did it. But I will first want to tell you, if you're ever interested in becoming a doctor, I always tell my medical students, the interns, everybody else, do something else. If you can't find yourself and you don't see yourself doing anything else, try to find something else. And if not, try it, okay? I became a doctor because I'm the youngest of 4. I'm Middle Eastern. Nobody else is a doctor. And my parents were pretty strict. And so I wanted some freedom. So I found a way for them to be happy and for me to be happy and live a life in which I could do whatever I wanted while also giving them what they wanted. And throughout all this, I had one foot out the door every single time. My program directors will 100% tell you, Ahmed would send emails to the entire hospital staff, the entire residency program, saying, this is wrong. We should not be doing this. This is whack. I'm going to tell the news about this. And completely overstepped all the time because the system is broken. Everything's broken. And, you know, having seen multiple medical systems in Europe and North America and the Middle East, I will say that in the US, it's a lot more commercialized, I would say, right? Like, it's the only country in the world in which medication companies, pharmaceutical companies can just
Run everything.
put ads on the TV, on your, during the Super Bowl.
That's because America is actually ran by capitalism. It's not like a regular, it's not like communism. China keeps the businesses in check in their country. The businesses keep the government in check in America. It's really just that simple. Whoever got the biggest bag, the Democratic Party works for whoever they work for. And the Republican.
No. The Democrat and the Republican Party work together. They get money together. They're the same bird, just 2 separate sides of the wings. 2 separate wings, a right wing and a left wing. Left wing. Jesus Christ, what the hell am I talking about?
Party works for whoever they work for, but we know that it ain't us who they working for because they wouldn't do certain things. How the hell you gonna take, and this is getting off subject, but just with cars, how are y'all gonna allow these car companies to tell us that we're no longer gonna be able to fix on our own cars and we have to bring them to the dealership and pay these asinine prices? That's not in the good of the people. You trying to line your pockets by appeasing them lobbyists. That's what you doing. So yeah, in other countries, they don't let these hospitals and pharmacies do the type of stuff that they are allowed to do over here. Mark up medications 1,000%, life-changing, life-saving medication at that, and treatment. Boy, this shit crazy.
During what I might be like, hey, ask your doctor about this medication. And so then the doctors become almost like this vendor, whereas in other areas in the world, and I'm not saying there's better, right? There's pros and cons to everything. In other areas of the world, people are very grateful to have a doctor because there's not that many of them, right? And healthcare is, quite important. And the workflow is very different. So coming to the U.S. and kind of doing the training here and working here, it's been a shock. Granted, I love patients being aware of what's going on with them. But as a person who got into this field because they just felt an obligation, it's funny that I'm still in it. And I think that comes with a little bit of clarity. A lot of my peers just had this idea like, I'm going to be a doctor since they were kids. And oftentimes they burn themselves out because the reality of becoming a doctor in the US and in the world right now, it's not what it's cut out to be. Like no one tells you when you're a bright-eyed, bushy eyelashed, something like that, medical student that you're going to accumulate all this amazing knowledge that you'll have an insane amount of in your third and fourth year of medical school. And then you become a little bit more specialized. But that it doesn't translate that way. The bureaucracy, the hypocrisy, the work conditions, the unfair expectations that doctors put on themselves, that admins put on themselves, politicians put on themselves, patients put on us, and vice versa everywhere. It's oftentimes insurmountable, and not enough doctors, not enough people in the medical field in general go into therapy. Not enough people know that, hey, you need to validate your concerns and your internal struggles because this will lead you to burnout and to making some questionable decisions in your day-to-day life. And oftentimes when you're see the zeros coming from the paycheck, especially when, by the way, it's an insane thing when in residency, the day after you're done, your pay oftentimes multiplies. You're often underpaid for such a large amount of time that a one-day difference makes that big of a change. And then also like you have that much more responsibilities. It's not graded. It's just like one day done. It's a little, I mean, that tells you about the whole training system in general. However, I got distracted. I started talking about why I became a doctor, and now I'm talking about my gripes with the medical field because I've been seeing a lot of these videos on TikTok and social media about, doctors and patients and the level of trust or lack thereof of the medical field. And I think they're founded, honestly. The whole field is broken. Doctors don't feel listened to. Patients don't feel listened to. And you know who's getting away with it? Government, insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies. They create so many barriers in between. And patients want their doctors because as doctors, we have a lot of power. But these powers don't translate to day-to-day life in terms of affecting policies, in terms of affecting the way we dictate our work. Admins in hospital settings, we are spoon-fed. Do these type of things. Do this, cost cut. Do this. Make sure this doesn't happen. And we'd like to say that we remain impartial to this, but absolutely not. We are humans just like everybody else out there, and things seep into your mind, and you have to actively fight this. And throughout residency and my training, this is why I did it. This is why I sent all those damn emails out. This is why I was a loose cannon in a lot of my training, is because I grew up under a dictatorship, and I know what it's like when people try to spoon feed you and kind of like tell you how to think and what to do. And you see it in the field, right? I mean, you see it in the field, and it's hard to do all those things at once while at the same time having the same brain capacity, more so to when you see a patient, our brains literally go into a different mode. And we look at your medical history. We look at what you're coming at. We look at what you're saying, how you're saying it, and how your current symptoms match all these different types of symptoms at the same time. And then we're doing all this computational capacity. And then after you're done, we have to say, oh, how are we going to build this so that admins don't come back at us? And if you own your own business and practice, and you've been burned by insurance companies or churn or whatever it might be, like, I got to do this. You have all these different responsibilities. And I'm just saying this is just kind of like day. I love helping people. I love when my patients do better.
This is some real shit,
It's
though.
such a nice feeling. It's a drug. It is a freaking drug. When your patients start feeling better and you just see them light up and they just like, it's coming out of every pore. It just doesn't happen as often as we'd like it to, especially in the hospital field, especially when venture capital, private equity are just taking boutique small practices out of business. Insurance companies are making it super hard to get paid. And you're always like living on with this back of your head saying they can just come back in 18 months and just say, oh, you didn't do this little thing. You didn't do that. We're just going to take back all your money. And now you're in debt because you employ other people.
So I made the decision a couple of months ago to leave my outpatient clinic.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think I really intended to make this video with a morose mood, except that I am reading my in-basket messages from my patients who just recently received the letter telling them that I was leaving. And I'm like, in my feelings about it. Like, everybody's been so incredibly kind and so sweet and giving me well wishes and expressing gratitude. If you're new here, I am a general cardiologist. I am also an author and an artist. And I worked really, really hard to get to the point I'm at right now. Sorry. Becoming a cardiologist takes 14 years of training. And I didn't want to give up on any aspects. Sorry. You guys need to see the feelings, okay? I'm feeling a lot of things of myself in order to pursue this profession. It is a field that I have been passionate about since I started. And look, I am a very unorthodox cardiologist. Besides being a Black woman, I have all of these other careers that are not typically seen in the field. And from early in my training, because
Hey, look, I'm gonna stop it right here and say, listen, and this is me personally, bro, if I got a choice between picking her as a cardiologist and let's just say a fucking old white man to be my cardiologist, I'm choosing her every single time, bro. That's just me. Because I know one thing about it, bro. She gonna look at me different. Y'all better look into racism in medicine, dog. I'm gonna keep it real with y'all, bro. Boy, you act so, man, this didn't happen to me twice, man. I'm in pain, doc. Man, no, you ain't. Y'all blacks are stronger than he didn't tell me this, but man, the nurses was like, yo, he don't give no black people no medicine, bro. We gotta wait till the other doctor get here. She's a woman and she just happened to be Black. She gonna give you some pain medicine. He just gonna give you some Advil, nothing strong. I said, that motherfucker. But racism in medicine is real, dog.
Because my first book came out when I was a first-year fellow, I would hear things like, do you even want to be a cardiologist? Based on the fact that I had other interests. At the end of the day, medicine is highly corporatized now, right? The real goal is to generate as many RVUs as possible. I tell people all the time that if you have a good doctor, oftentimes they are good because they are sacrificing themselves. We have a healthcare system in America right now that relies entirely on the altruism of its healthcare workers. It's like with teachers, right? They look for people with passion and then they take advantage of that. I will say I'm somebody who loves outpatient medicine, so being in clinic. All of my personal statements going back into like from medical school beyond talk about how I really want to be part of a patient's family. And I think that even though while not every single patient is gonna like me as their cardiologist, I would say the vast majority probably would agree with that. That I did take a very dedicated approach to their care.
That's why
the reality is those that came at an enormous cost to myself. I don't sleep. I didn't see my friends and family for about 8 years. This year, I started really prioritizing that, which meant that my body has been absolutely battered, even though I've been having a really great time. I am extremely efficient. I type very fast. I'm a really good communicator. And all of that optimized still was not enough to make this possible, which is painful because I always wanted it to be. I have an arrangement set up where I will still be working in the hospital, I'll still be working with trainees. And to be quite honest with you, the only real way that I think I could get back into outpatient medicine where I'm seeing patients in clinic is if I set up a concierge practice and had a cash practice.
And look, I want to tell y'all something to go back to what I was saying. Doctors like her not easily replaceable. So in order to just not completely get rid of them, they'll let them come and do something like that. Do that at your job. Hey man, look, instead of just working, 40 hours a week, man, let me just work 7 hours. Man, hell no, they're gonna replace you with somebody who could get the full 40 in there, dog. I'm telling you, man, it's an epidemic.
Which is unfortunately how we end up with a tiered system that doesn't allow us to see the patients who need us the most. I think this decision has been very complicated for me as somebody who really wanted to be able to do everything and was able to an extent. But I won't lie and say that I have been breathing much easier knowing that I will finally be able to rest.
Yeah, bro. See, y'all, hey, listen, if you got a good doctor, man, you better cherish them. They may not be working there no more soon because they might get burned out. I'm telling you, give them a little.
Man, listen, like I said, the doctor that I had, unfortunately, yeah, he doesn't practice anymore. But like I literally I had a bunch of different things that I had scheduled, and I had to start all over again. But with all that being said, man, let me know down in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on this? If you're a doctor or if you know of a doctor, you know the stuff that they went through, let us know. Hit that like, hit that sub, tell a friend, man. Like usual, the link for the original video will be in the description below. Love each and every last one of y'all, man. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.